A new month is here, which means new movie releases coming out in theaters. Which ones am I most excited to see for this month? Well, let's break it down. So for the month of November, I've got 4 different movies that are on my most anticipated list. So having said that, I'll just go in order for this month, starting off with Eternals, which is going to debut on November 5th. So Eternals is the most interesting of my anticipated movies for the month of November, for a couple reasons. As of right now, it's resting at a 58% score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is the worst critic score rating of a Marvel movie since Thor 2, which had a critic rating of 66%. That in and of itself has me wondering, what exactly are critics seeing that they're not liking about the film, and will the general audience feel differently about it? I wonder, because we've seen many disparities between critic scores and audience score, and in some cases really large disparities throughout the course of movies. For example, the scores for Joker were low for critics but were really high for audiences, and it made $1 billion. Another example, Dear Evan Hansen, which came out recently, that has a pretty wide disparity between the critic and audience scores. So I wouldn't be surprised if audiences had a much higher score for Eternals than the critics do. And in addition, I've been hearing that this movie is much different than the streamlined Marvel movie that many people have become accustomed to. Now, I've enjoyed every Marvel movie I've seen, but there's no denying there's a bit more of a DNA toward action hero type rather than cinematic storytelling. With the most recent Academy Award-winning director Chloe Zhao heading up this project, I have no doubt that Eternals is going to have a much different flavor than what we've seen in previous Marvel movies. Historically, directors of these movies have been of those that are less notorious within the movie industry, and Chloe Zhao directing a Marvel movie seems to be a far cry from that. With all that in mind, I'm really intrigued to see what this Marvel movie looks like when I go see it in theaters. Next up for the month of November, King Richard, which is going to debut on November 19th. My main reason for being excited for King Richard is the fact that Will Smith is going to be the lead, and it seems like he's gotten some high praise out of the gate for this movie. I've been a fan of Will Smith's work all the way from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to movies like Hitch and a couple of other projects. He is no doubt one of the biggest talents in the movie industry, and getting a chance to see him show off his acting chops is something I'm super geared up for, and he'll hopefully give a very charismatic performance. And additionally, as just a general sports fan, this is the story of guiding 2 of the most dominant players in women's tennis history, arguably more so Serena than Venus, but that's a whole nother conversation. And that concept of seeing young people with tremendous gifts and talents, and parents maybe not knowing what exactly to do with all that talent in order to guide them to be some of the greatest ever. It's something really fascinating that I'm looking forward to seeing as King Richard has to unfold and sort of guide his daughters to the top. And that seems to be what this movie is teetering on. Throughout time, there have been many athletes who have had the talent of Serena and Venus Williams in different sports, but not all of them make it for several reasons. One of them being that their talent wasn't nurtured properly. At least that's what I'd imagine the reason is. For example, Marcus Dupree was the most highly recruited running back ever to be recruited into the NCAA, but he never made it for those very reasons. And for those of you who are interested in that story, watch the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary called The Best That Never Was. I'm just curious to have the question answered, what was it that Serena and Venus's father did for them that helped them get to the top? What made him different from every other father out there who had kids with a ton of talent? I'm super curious to see how that unfolds on screen, and hopefully Will Smith will be able to deliver that in a bow with a box. Next up for the month of November, Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is going to debut on November 19th. The original Ghostbusters was one of the most iconic movies of the 1980s. And me being a movie fan, I'm guilty of not seeing it or any of the other Ghostbusters titles that have come out. And when I combine that with having Paul Rudd, McKenna Grace, and Finn Wolfhard all starring in this movie, it's enough to get me excited enough to go out and see it. I literally know nothing else other than the other 2 aforementioned facts. I haven't even watched the trailers for this movie, and I'm actually thinking I'm not going to, so I can go into Ghostbusters Afterlife completely cold. I kind of like that exciting prospect of movies going in knowing nothing about it, because then you just don't know what you're in for. However, having said all of that, I'm not totally crazy. I have heard some very positive things about people who have seen the movie, which is really what initially got me even thinking about Ghostbusters Afterlife. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have even batted an eye at seeing this come out in theaters. However, my ears have perked up, and I will be seeing this movie. My last most anticipated movie for the month of November is going to be The House of Gucci, which is going to debut on November 24th, the day before Thanksgiving. And The House of Gucci seems to have that unique combination of really high caliber talent and mobster movie, or at least the elements of a mobster movie. Ridley Scott's directing, Adam Driver's playing a lead role. That in and of itself is enough to get me amped for the movie, and especially because of the fact they just made The Last Duel, which I happen to enjoy. And that movie was a testament to both of their talents. Adam Driver is a stunningly great actor who I've just gushed over in every movie he's been in, from Star Wars to Marriage Story to The Last Duel. He's just a really good actor. In addition to that, I have actually never seen a mobster movie full on from beginning to end. The Godfather, I've only seen bits and pieces of. A Bronx Tale, I've only seen bits and pieces of. But what really intrigues me about about both of those movies and in mobster movies in general is that they have a certain rawness about them that really gets my heart pumping. The rawness of those two films really ended up catching me off guard and made me realize how insane these mob families are, or at least how they are portrayed to be insane. It just gets me on the edge of my seat and really excited. And considering the trailers for this movie fall right into that sense of rawness, it has me really excited because it leads into that feeling I have whenever I see that rawness on screen. All right, my friends, those are my most anticipated movies for the month of November. What are you excited to see this month? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. Thanks so much for watching another Bankrupt Hippo video. Click right here if you like this and want to see more. I've been Bryce, and until next time, have a great day.